today's topic is about subtle sales. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go put out banners in front of your house that go sell, 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 because that's not what I would do myself. But I'm hoping to really explain really what marketing really is and what part it's outside of your control, what part it's within your control. We do a little bit of practice sessions. There's no judgment here. And I will show you kind of my speech, my elevator speech that really worked for how I got into all these stores, more than hundreds of stores that I'm in right now. And hopefully that would help you as well in your books.
Today we have a very special guest speaker. Serena Lee came from a successful career in sales and client relations, where she spearheaded a team of 200 and significantly boosted account revenue from 90 million to 640 million in just 3 years with the world's largest ad agency network. So this woman knows how to sell. I love that. Drawing from that background, she ventured into self-publishing, crafting lingual, social emotional learning board books that reflects multicultural values and that she cherished as an immigrant. In her first year of operation, she has independently distributed 6,000 plus books to hundreds of indie bookstores spanning 4 countries, all without relying on an Amazon presence. Driven by her passion for supporting fellow indie authors, Serena co-founded the Book and Author platform, alongside YobiQ, aimed at facilitating easier sales to schools and stores for authors. Thank you so much for being here. I really look forward to this topic, and I think you have so much value to offer. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background as far as, something we haven't heard in how you got involved with sales aspect or the Book and Author platform, maybe how that came to be.
Yeah, certainly. I will also share my screen with the slides that I have prepared, and maybe that would help so you don't have to look at my face without makeup today because, being a new mom. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to come and speak with you guys today. I have heard so much about, I feel like marketing is so daunting. What are you, or am I advertising too much? Am I selling too much? I'm not comfortable with such. I want to just tell you my personal story kind of through the slides and this hour that we have and help maybe dissect a little bit so that it's, into bite-sized pieces, right? So that you can maybe feel like, finding a piece that you're more passionate about and delve a little bit into that. I know an hour, it's very short time to cover the whole entire scheme of marketing. So I'm happy to come back anytime if you're like, hey, I have so much interest in one area. Can you dive a little bit deeper? I'm happy to do that. So I got involved with the Book and Author platform with my friend and business partner YobiQ. So both Yobi and myself self-published authors. We then started kind of publishing books and, with the topics that we care about. In my case, it's multilingual social emotional learning, and in Yobi's case, it's about API representation. And both of us have consulting businesses that help other authors. But we realized it's like, there's so many of you guys that we wanted to help, and there's only so much time that we have. And we wanted to find a way to really, and perhaps creating a platform that allows all of you more opportunities to engage with your potential clients in a way that make you feel maybe a little bit more comfortable to be in. So whether you're trying to sell to schools or to stores, we want to just create just one single platform where these schools and stores can, so that they can support local authors and etc. I'll go into kind of the Book and Author side of things if you're interested in learn more. I hope to come here and offer value other than just asking you to sign up for Book and Author. So let's dive into it. So today's topic is about subtle sales. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go put out banners in front of your house that go sell, 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 because that's not what I would do myself. But I'm hoping to really explain really what marketing really is and what part it's outside of your control, what part it's within your control. We do a little bit of practice sessions. There's no judgment here. And I will show you kind of my speech, my elevator speech that really worked for how I got into all these stores, more than hundreds of stores that I'm in right now. And hopefully that would help you as well in your books. All right. So the reason why we're here today, and I'd like to start with a goal slide so you know what you're getting into in case if you want to drop midway for whatever reason. I'm hoping to really go through effective methods of promoting and selling your books without using hard selling tactics. If you tell me, hey, this is too hard for me, I would explain to you how we can do it without the hard selling aspect. Second, I do have ready to deploy techniques that you can go after you log off today or maybe tomorrow morning if it's late air time to start building relationships authentically with your audiences, whether it's in person or online. I will also go through practical strategies that you can use to navigate this whole marketing landscape. Maybe you feel like, oh, it's so daunting, it's so much, but I would just cut it down into little pieces for you. And then lastly, you walk away with your very own elevator pitch. You can just swap out words from mine, or you can just create your own. Totally. Okay, so my name is Serena Lee. If you want to connect with me offline, I am on LinkedIn, Serena Y. Lee. My imprint is duckduckbooks.com. And also I mentioned bookandauthor.com, which just beta launched not that long ago, a couple of days ago. And we are opening for authors to join us starting May 1st. Okay, so perception versus reality. I know you guys are maybe interested in knowing, well, okay, so you work in the largest advertising network, you generated all these account revenue for your clients, you sold all these books. Well, how are you able to relate with me? I wanted to kind of just show you the reality side of things that I perhaps don't normally show to, kind of the wide network. I didn't just born knowing how to do all these things. Perhaps part of it is desperation, right? Because I needed a job. I wanted to do well. I wanted to provide. Part of it, it's just maybe I just took it one step at a time and I just end up where I am. But I definitely didn't start there, as young and just wanted to do sales all my life, right? In fact, I didn't learn English until 14 years old. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in China, moved over to Houston, Texas with because my parents wanted us to have a better education here. And so I didn't end up learning English until 14 years old. So you can imagine actually doing all of this in a actually third language. And another point I wanted to tell, probably from just a quick side tangent story. When I was in college, I had to take on 2 jobs in order to afford college, right? My nighttime job was telemarketing for the university I was in, which is, you guys probably get lots of those annoying calls all the time at your dinner time asking, hey, would you donate to the school with nothing in return, right? Just a bragging right at that point. It was probably the most difficult job. A lot of my coworkers at the time, none of them lasted more than 2-3 months because it's just so tough. Well, I lasted that job for 3 years, which is unheard. But partly it's also because I needed a job at a nighttime that pays, and that's just the only job that was available where I can, hopefully do my homework while being on the phone, just talking like. So why do I bring this up? Because in my opinion, there's no other job worse than telemarketer job. And so every job after that, I look back and I'm like, well, it sucks, but at least it's not telemarketing. At least I'm selling a book that offers value. At least I am, championing a product that, that solve people's problems, right? So I wanted to say that as in not telling you guys that I have worse job than you guys do. I'm sure there's a lot of times you guys also have terrible, terrible job experiences that perhaps led you today. But I think just always keep in mind your roots came from in with that perspective, perhaps what you are selling now, which is where passion is easier. Now, I'm also a 5-month-old. She just turned 5 months today. And I also really, you know, there's not enough time in the day to do everything. So I look for efficiency, right? And I'll dive into that a little bit further, as in, kind of prioritize. I'm also a survivor of depression. I talk about this a lot to brand story. Growing up as Asian Americans about mental health. My parents meant to post-depression. But I bring this up because that vulnerability, right? It's what I hope to connect with you guys with. And I do feel like there's a lot of people out there that want to know kind of what's behind this kind of Wonder Woman, right? Like you seem to be able to do everything, but no, I don't. I don't do everything. I suffer too. But all of us are survivors. You're here today. You are a survivor. You woke up today. You are a survivor already. And so out there, to give you a more array of, so related to marketing or sales, just this topic in general, what feels daunting? I think I've heard a few of you when you came in and just talked about how, oh man, somebody was selling me all the advertising products and I just wanted to go away, right?
For me, it's getting a good elevator pitch because I tend to make a short story long. So coming up with a good pitch that feels authentic and doesn't feel salesy.
Yeah, exactly. I see Diane. I don't want to sound like some scammy email that you get. Yes, absolutely. We hate getting those, and we absolutely can see that if we don't know if our Gmails is getting kicked into spam these days, right? And I'll kind of talk a little bit about that too. And just getting started, really, the step one from 0 to 1, it's the hardest, right?
Yeah, and AJ says the very word marketing and its definition gives me angst. I understand that for sure.
Yeah, it's just one extra thing you have to do. I mean, you wrote this beautiful book, right? People should just fall in love with it. It should just fly off the shelf, right? Where can you find people like your family, like yourself, that just love your book as much as you do? And I think all of this do feel very. Maybe let's go back to the basics. I think when we talk about feeling daunting and just feeling like there's too much, but maybe if I chop it into 4 pieces, right? Going back to if you went to college for marketing major like I do, they all talk about a 4 piece. What does that mean? There's 2 pieces here that I can help you with today, and 2 pieces I cannot help you because you are the expert at it. So the first P is product, your brand, your services, packaging. Now, I am assuming all of you have beautiful books that look like a book, right? That you have a brand that perhaps people, maybe it's your name, or maybe it's, author Marina, maybe it's author Victoria, maybe it's an imprint like mine, Duck Duck Books, right? I assume you all have your products there. I'm not gonna judge for that. That's another call on another day. We have price. I am also assuming that you're pricing your product legitimately, right? And within reason, so that if you happen to have a book and you sell it for $1 million somehow, well, maybe there is a reason why it'll be hard to sell that or market for that, right? I won't be able to help you with that. But there are 2 things that we can focus on, and that is place and promotion. So place is where you show up, right? Your market, your channel, your distribution, and then your promotion, which is the words that you guys hate listening to: advertising, publicity, sales promotion. What does that even mean? So we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. Place. Now, I also assume that you know who your target audience are, right? Keep in mind, we are not going to sell to everyone. It's impossible that you will sell to everyone. If you are happening to sell to everyone, you probably have a product so generic that AI could just easily replace that, right? Now, don't worry about making everybody love you. And I think that it's probably something we need to keep in the back of our minds, because that would probably take a little bit of that pressure off your shoulder of going up to everyone and anyone and try to make them buy a book from you. That's not scalable at all. So assuming you know who your target audience are, then ask yourself, where do they frequent? Do they actually normally go into an indie bookstore, right, in person? Are they shopping on Amazon? I think everybody says, oh, you need to get on Amazon because that's where all the books are. Well, I prove you wrong, right? I actually don't even have time to set up my Amazon storefront. I don't have one. I just think Amazon's ripping us off by taking all the money from us. And so Amazon may not be your only place that you need to be at. Is it social media, right? If I'm selling to young parents, maybe they are shopping or looking at resources on social media. Is it community festivals? I've seen great success being in farmers or local festivals, tabling. So all those things, kind of think about where they are, and your job is to meet them where they are. Don't try to be at too many places all at once because you can only do so much. Jackie, your question, where do I sell if I'm not on Amazon? I sell it on my website, duckduckbooks.com. I sell them through, wholesale, through email to a lot of bookstores. I sell them, to actually corporate, a lot of employee resource groups. They actually get my products. So there are multiple ways to sell your product other than Amazon. I'm not trying to drive you guys away from Amazon. I'm just giving you another option so you don't have to feel like, oh, not seeing much success on Amazon. I can tell you this, I don't see much success on Amazon for me because I'm not putting enough ad dollars behind it. I do not have a distributor, Tina. I am my own distributor. And you can do just that as well. A distributor can do it for you by having that relationship. But if you have authentic relationships with your local stores, you can distribute your own book. You don't need somebody else to do that for you. You can have someone else to do it, but that's not the point. I'm not trying to say everybody need to do what I do, but yeah, promotion. The other side of the story, and they are kind of interrelated, place is promotion, which is, do you know why your target audience support you? I'm pretty sure you guys have sold one book, just one, right? If you have zero, maybe we can chat offline about that. But assuming you have one book, did you know why that one person bought that book from you, right? Is it because of your brand story? I think, one of the author here, I think, about, your story about the loss of your child. Sometimes people relate to that, right? And they wanted to support you. Is it because of your product? Is your product somehow just grabs attention? I know some people have, dinosaurs on their books, and some kids just love dinosaur, whether they know what it's about or not. They just wanted that. Is it the promotion? Have you seen success because you're selling it at a certain price? And is that why, people support you? I think all that information is really helpful because that helps us at least know where to start. If you're just shooting blind here, you can start from somewhere, just like test and try and learn. But if you don't know this, that's something to work on first before we can even dive into anything else, right? So remember, why are they there to support you? If you are really not sure and you don't want to assume, ask somebody, ask someone you trust, perhaps your friend or your friend's niece, right? Ask someone on the street. If you're at a street festival, it doesn't hurt to just ask them, hey, just curious, why are you supporting me? Why are you buying my stuff? You're not selling them anything, you just wanted to learn. And a lot of times their answer might surprise you, might give you a confidence boost. And my advice there for promotion is give them what they need. Not what you think they need, give them what they need. Under place, what about time constraints? Right? You don't have the time to be in all the channels, to try all the things. Maybe it's budget constraint. You only have certain amount of dollars to play with. There's so many things that demand money. Your coaching service needs money. Your Amazon ads need money. Even just making your little bookmark, printing it takes money. So all of these constraints are there. And I just wanted you to know that everybody have that constraint. You're definitely not alone there. Even if somebody is telling you I'm New York Times bestseller, I sold so many books, well, they have certain constraints too, right? And one of the guys in the industry that I've met, he made over 1.5 million on Amazon. And then when I asked him, I said, so how did you get there? How did you get to 1.5 million? Could you share that with me? And he's like, more than 50%, 75% end up doing ads. They're not really money in my pocket. Well, keeping that context into mind, right? Your story, your life, your goals are not comparable with others. Don't compare with others and be like, oh, Serena sold 6,000 board books, the hardest book to sell. Like, I need to do this much too. No, you don't have to. All right. What about promotion? So I think I heard a lot at the beginning of this call. Talking about myself just not my thing. I hate talking about myself, right? I don't talk about myself frequently enough. Is my elevator pitch a little too long? Are people losing interest? Do they even care about what I write? Maybe you want to avoid sale, like those wet market ladies, right? Just like, oh my gosh, everything is red, everything is sales, everything is Macy's. Maybe you don't think your story is interesting enough, right? Why do people need to care? And maybe I just don't know. Now, let me just kind of boil that down into just one sentence to cap it all. Why you can't give it a try, or maybe why do you feel like it's so daunting that you don't want to give it another try? What is failure? The possibility of failure, of being stuck with the inventory, right? I think a lot of times we get, well, in any business, we get all the unwanted advice from everybody. Sometimes wanted, sometimes unwanted. Everybody have a say. Everyone want to tell you, just like raising your kids, right? Everybody wanted to tell you how to raise your kids. Yep. But one thing I would say is never listen to anyone who didn't make it, because they just are maybe just opinionated, right? I would say even don't listen to me because I haven't made it yet, right? I'm just sharing with you what I learned from my professional work. Now, second thing is also when you get so bogged down by the different directions, perhaps that's like one way for others to distract you, right? Because here's another thing, I would say maybe out of the millions of authors that are, not everybody has the secret sauce for success. In fact, everyone can do it a little bit differently. Do it what make you feel comfortable. You don't have to what you don't feel comfortable, right? Because if they have the secret sauce, then maybe they are already billionaires to even chat with us at this point, right? So I think a lot of times people are like, well, I think Amazon came up with a lot, so maybe I can address that. Amazon is just like any other platform. If you were to sell on Walmart.com, it is a great way for people to search for you. However, sometimes being on Amazon would affect your chance of getting into independent bookstores. Did you know that? Because when I offer books to independent bookstores, they immediately go on Amazon and they search and they are like, oh, are you selling this for cheaper than what you're giving me? Because that is hurting the that's just one perspective. And I'm not telling you guys to all delist your stuff on point. I understand that print on demand offers a lot of us the flexibility of putting out a book without shelling out a bunch of inventory. But there are more than one way of, right? When I first started, I was not trying to do everything within the marketing channel, and I will kind of show you my analysis now that I've tried everything. Like I'm almost in my third year, so really willing to share. So yeah, I think my biggest fear is failure, right? Because I feel like now that I've put out there, everybody on my friends group know that I am trying to be an author. If I don't sell, I think that fear of me a little bit hesitant of trying out new platforms, investing more. But going back to my telemarketing job, one of my mentor or my supervisor asked me, a lot of people are going to tell you no, thing, right? Well, it's actually more than a no. To me, I'm just thinking, well, if they say no to me, it's not necessarily about my books. It's no to me as a person. When you associate that, whether you're selling to a bookstore or to a by the farmer's market, you need to understand there is actually a lot of different content no that is out of your control. Bookstore, for an example, they have limited shelf space. They may love your product, but they're just not available right at that moment to make a purchase of more than 3 to 5 copies. That happens all the time. Or maybe they are done with their budgeting, they just needed a bit more time, right? So as a small business owner, you kind of think, what if you are the bookstore owner, right? And you put that context into place. Oh, then you don't feel like that's personal anymore, right? No, it's a no. That's fine. We can try again. The parent, right? Maybe they have limited space in their home, or maybe they are barely having enough to put food on the table for that month. They may not have the $20 to shell out to buy your one book, but it doesn't mean that they didn't see you. It doesn't mean that they don't think about you later. And so that's why I think it is so important to be human first and put out your authentic self so that when somebody is willing to make that purchase, they think of you. This is actually a strategy for a lot of real estate agents, for a lot of insurance agents. Everything that we think about is like sales related. They are selling personal connection first, right? Not necessarily about the product. You could have gotten insurance everywhere else. Why do you go with that particular agent? Is it because you think of them perhaps as your friend, right? So channeling that kind of thought process maybe can take our fear out of the equation and approach it more. All right. So you are definitely not alone here. I went through a lot of that thought process. I still think about that thought process. Kind of going into a little bit of like this, but a little bit. Okay. Now keep in mind about just, I don't like sales or I don't want to talk about myself. Keep this in mind. They won't know you unless if you tell them who you are, right? I didn't know Karen. I didn't know Rosalie. I didn't know Victoria before this call. But by you telling me about who you are, now I put your story to your faces, right? Second, one baby step at a time. We're not no rush here. We're not trying to each other. This industry needs more of us, right? Also, one person at a time. You're not trying to sell to 100, 1,000 people at the same time, just one person. If you sell to one person per day, that is 365 sales a year, right? That's the book that you didn't have before. One book sale at a time. Don't try to look at, oh, what's my weekly numbers? That's just adding more pressure to you, right? Like you are not an insurance agent. You don't have a supervisor beating saying that you have to close a certain amount of sales per day. You are adding that pressure to yourself, right? Lastly, you're providing them with a benefit that they are otherwise missing out on, right? Your story is worth telling, and your story is different than everybody else, bringing them a benefit, right? Okay, so now assuming the fear is out of the way, you're in the right place, whether it's in a farmer's on social media or whatnot. You needed that elevator pitch to capture attention. You need an elevator pitch that you're comfortable about yourself. So we're going to practice a little bit of that today. I'm going to give you a form, and it will be easy for you to craft it down, and maybe you can jot down some notes and that later. It's going to help make it easier for you to talk to anyone to get what you need, not judging you as a person. Okay, what is it? It needs to be 30 to 60 seconds long. 15 seconds is actually ideal. Keep it short, keep it simple. I know we have a lot to say, but ultimately what it comes down to is boiling it down. I will maybe teach you a little bit of tricks of how to utilize AI to like make it a little bit simpler for you. I have 5 steps here in your elevator pitch, your 15 seconds. Need to hit these 5 points. One is start with value, right? Don't start with the name. Nobody cares about that just yet. Start with your value, your hook. And then you talk about who you are, what you do, what do you make, and how would what you make help me as a recipient? What are you going to do to me? How does that relate to me? What do you want me to do? What's that call to action? All right. So I'm going to pause that there just a second. This is the 15 seconds of your most uncomfortable moment of your life. But it's actually easy if you kind of got through it. The one way I would do it is to have a usual speech that you normally do, right? Write it all down, answering my 5 questions, lump it all into a paragraph, put into ChatGPT, and you say, can you make this concise into 15 seconds for me? Can you make it to 30 seconds for me? See what ChatGPT says to help make it concise. All right. We can help you that as a human perspective too, but I know everybody is talking. You can apply this to anything. You can apply to one single book. You can apply to your whole entire imprint. If you have more than 1 books, if you have a theme, you can apply to literally any services. If you happen to do a service for others, you can have multiple elevator pitch. In fact, I would suggest that you have multiple, because depending on who you're talking to, your elevator pitch to a school, to a bookstore, to a parent, to a teacher would look very different. Why is that? Because everybody have something different that they need, right? Your value to a school would have been very different than your value to a parent. So it's almost like scenario. And if you practice it, you can just take it out of your Rolodex, present it to whoever that you're talking to, depending on who they are. Going back to assuming you know who your target audience are, right? Like that's where it comes in. You need to understand what your target audience need, and that feeds into your first line here. Start with. If I am at a farmer's market, I'll probably be pitching a particular book, right? If I'm not bringing all my 20 books on site. If I'm pitching to a store, I might be pitching a catalog, right? And so, yeah, and then also going back to one at a time. You can actually do one at a time here. Don't try to hit up all your target audience. You got no time here. Just do one. Just start with one. Just start with one this week, this month, right? I'm pretty sure you feel like the whole entire world could have been my reader. Yeah, that could be true. But what is one lowest hanging fruit that you can start? Is it the parent-teacher association of your local school? Is it the parents with the young kids that are down the street, right? Just start with one first. After you get comfortable with that, expand a little bit more. I'm pretty sure, just like Nike, they didn't start out making all the shoes in the world. They didn't start out making clothes, right? They started maybe with one shoe, and then it's like working well for them, and then they started rolling out with different design. That's basically what you're building here. You start with one elevator pitch, change it a little bit, and then now you can talk to it. Let me kind of go in and share with you mine, because I know it might be really hard to tell you guys write it exactly like it is, and maybe you have already had it written, but let me kind of share you with mine. Let me tell you, mine is not perfect. I actually update that quite frequently, quarterly at the minimum, sometimes monthly, depending on the season, depending on what I heard in the market, depending on what I know of the target audience. People's needs change. So what worked for you maybe 5 months ago may or may not work anymore. And that's a whole point of optimization, right? It's like making small incremental changes at a time until you get to just your perfect formula that's made just for you, right? Okay, so my elevator pitch at a tabling event, I can actually do this with my eyes closed, right? I would say, hello, are you looking for, do you have any little ones in your life that you're shopping gifts for? Using this as an example, maybe I'm usually doing holiday markets or, you know, those type of things. And that gets people thinking, oh yeah, who do I know that's little in my life, right? People will be like, oh yeah, I have grandchildren. No, I have my niece and nephew, or I have a friend who's having a baby shower. And then I say, by the way, I can rattle off this whole entire thing, or sometimes I stop and just like see their feedback, because they might be coming in and they're like, I don't have any kids in my life. Well, then that changes my call to action. Anyone could do something for me, right? And I'll kind of go through that. I say, my name is Serena. I'm a local author and a publisher, and I make multilingual kids books that's focused on social emotional learning. I put in here where it says Serena, local author. Those are things that you can switch out based on who you are, right? My name is April, and I'm a local author, publisher, coach, right? I make blah blah blah. You slot that in, keep it short, right? And then I say, I'm running an event special today. If you get 2 books, I'll gift wrap them for you for free, so you don't have to worry about that when you get home. I am not telling them I'll give them the book 50% off or even 20% off. I need that money to cover my tabling fee, right? But I'm giving them a value, which I put in here a picture. So I also make these washable gift wrap set that fits my book. And now my 5th point, if they happen to be my target audience, right? Maybe a parent or maybe an aunt buying them for gifts, then I'll say, feel free to flip through them. That's their call to action. Hey, I don't want you to buy, just look through it. Let me know if you have any questions. Everybody's curious. They wanted to read a book, right? They will like it after they see what they read. Or if they say any little ones that I'm shopping for, I would say, well, would you be so kind to help spread the words? Out of 10 people, maybe 1 would actually say, oh yeah, do you have a card? I would love to follow you on Instagram, or I would love to do this, or tell my neighbor about you, or tell my, parent teacher association about you, right? So your call to action is important. If you go through and say, I'm blah, 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 talking about myself all the time without a call to action, then the person, okay, like, what does that have to do with me? Right? What did you want me to do? And the call to action also, I'm not asking them to, hey, can you buy 2 books now? Like, I never put that out there because I'm not comfortable doing that. I hate being sold to or put right on the spot. But I'm like, hey, I have this special. If you're interested, read through it. Help me spread the words, right? Let me know what you think. Strike up that conversation. Make them say something back to you, because those are valuable feedback that you can use your elevator pitch. All right. So let me show you kind of different if I'm talking to a bookstore, right? It's still the same formula, but to a bookstore, it would look very, very different. So to a bookstore, I say, hello, so-and-so bookstore. I love your cozy shop. Everybody loves a little bit compliment, right? Or I say, I love your, sometimes I already did the research about who they are. I ask, are you looking with more world titles, right? I'm going to pause here for just a second. My books are not everybody's book, although I think they should be. But the reality is, a lot of bookstores, they tell me and they said, we don't have anyone that speaks another language. Nobody wants multilingual books. Or they tell me, I don't really care, right? Blah, blah, blah. We don't carry a lot of board books. So I would tell you that I actually get a lot more rejections than you would ever realize, right? It's all a numbers game sometimes. So in your case, you tell them what are they stocking their shelves for. If you happen to look at the store, or if you see on their website that they list products that are similar to yours, the chance of them carrying your books is actually pretty highly, right? Because if they like a particular topic, they probably wouldn't have had that on your shelf. If you happen to have novels, for example, you probably have a very theme. So put that out there, right? And I say, I'm Serena, I'm a local author. Sometimes if I'm selling out of state, I don't call myself a local author, but I who I am. I'm an AAPI author. AAPI stands for Asian American Pacific Islanders. Or maybe you have your personal side of the story that make you very unique. Maybe you're a veteran, right? Maybe you're part of the military. All those things just make you so unique. You have to be unique, even though you don't think you are. You are special. So put something that describe you and different so that they pay attention to you, right? My offering, I still only make books, right? So multilingual kids books, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, I'm happy to offer you a percentage of the discount with no minimum order quantity. A lot of bookstores, they actually like that you don't give them minimum order quantity, because if they were to buy from a big distributor, they are required to place certain amount of order, and it's actually very daunting for them. So if you happen to be like, hey, you can buy a copy, you can buy 5 copy, I just appreciate the opportunity to be on your shelf. It gives them that opportunity, that feeling actually trying to support me and help me. So I wanted to support you back. Now your percentage of discount I put here because everybody might be giving a certain different discount. I'm not here to talk about pricing today. Our industry discount that you should be giving to a bookstore just in doing business. And then my call to action. I asked them in a soft way because I don't feel comfortable telling them, would you like to place 5 copies today? I would say, could you share your email address of your buyer so I can give you the latest catalog, just so that you can have it in your resources to look at, right? Or I would ask, would you like a sample? Sometimes the stores are very open to, because if you give them 1 copy and it sells, they're gonna order more, right? If you are able to offer samples, that's great. If you're not able to offer samples, just give them the catalog, right? Or can I share more information? So this particular script actually works not just for your brand, but actually for one particular book too. If you're like, hey, can I give you a email? I just copy and paste this. There's something about email though. You cannot write the same message every single time frequently, because that's how Google kicked you into spam. So you need to change out the words. Maybe I'm saying something different than I love your cozy shop, right? Maybe I'm saying a different word than multilingual. Sometimes I put the word multicultural because that's who I represent. Sometimes I use the word kids versus children's, right? So changing those words help so that you're not being spammy. If you happen to be on a phone call, you should pause and see who you're talking to. Are you talking to the buyer? Are you talking to just the cashier staff, right? Try to find the right person. I love picking up phone calls and say, may I, I'm trying to talk to the buyer. Who should be the right contact to talk to? You're not selling to that cashier staff. He or she doesn't care to be sold. But just getting to the decision maker. Once you get to the decision maker, you continue to the rest of the script, right? And what's the worst that could happen? They just say, hey, not at this time. But you can say, well, is it okay if I give you a sample? Is it okay if I give you the catalog? Or in some cases, the stores will be like, we have a consignment program if you're interested, right? Because it helped them with their cash flow, and that's up to your decision if you wanted to. All the stores say they don't want them coming in to pitch their books. I don't go in person because I have a day job and I have 2 kids. That's actually the only reason. There are some stores that don't like people bombarding them. I actually would respect that very much. But it doesn't mean that they are not accepting messages on Instagram, because they do want their, you could be a customer, you could be a reader, right? You could be like, this book at your store recently, I love it. By the way, did you know? They do us, right? So just know that don't do what they said they absolutely don't want to do, but actually a lot of store appreciate you sharing with them a specific discount that you have for them, or that what discount do you offer? Yeah, to show you put there 40%, I would say is the minimum. They do expect more these days. I was at the American Book Association conference where I spoke there, and one thing I learned is the stores, their profit margin is 1% or less per sustainable. So do want to look for more if you're able to. I would say normally with discount, I know there's a lot of question there, you should at least meet what they want, because there is in a lot of consignment programs, they actually label exactly how many percentage they require. There's no negotiation there, especially for us that are uncomfortable with sales already. Don't negotiate with them. You either move on or you do the program, give it a try. So don't, I would say try it out for sure. Don't leave any rocks unturned. I offer different percentages, depends on what type of store. So besides books, I also do accessories. And so accessories actually require 50%, just like if you were to sell clothes or bags and whatnot. And, I do end up having to give a different percentage, but it's all up to you. And yeah, so in give the stores a lot of discount, and they actually offer free shipping and everything. So for a bookstore to buy from you or I guess a bookstore to say no to you, there is reason, right? It may be your pricing, it may be because of you, or it may be because they just get such a good deal from Ingram Spark, and unless if you're able to beat it, they don't want to give it a try, and that's okay, right? I'm not saying you should kill yourself over just pleasing everybody. Do what makes. So yeah, about return, I think that's business. So I don't expect the store to buy a bunch, so don't force them to buy a bunch. If they are gonna buy 10 or 20, if you're not comfortable that it's gonna sell 10 or 20, turn. So just try out different things. All that kind of goes into pricing, which is not great. So now with this elevator pitch, I hope you feel that one, I hope it's a little bit less daunting, but definitely write it out, practice it, right? Practice with your friends, your family. See what works for you. Keep your sentences very short. The longer that everybody's pitch could be a little bit different. This is just a pitch that worked for me to sell my 6,000 books. I think I could have sold more if I have an even better pitch, but I'm still working on that myself. So, all right. So let me just move on then about creating authentic connections, right? Now, elevator pitch is a way to say hi. If you are to make a new friend in your neighborhood, right? You're like, hey, hi, so and so, I live down the street, blah, 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 and you became a friend. It's the same way. How do you kind of continue from there after your elevator pitch? How do you keep them as a friend, right? And that's kind of what this authentic connections come in. So going back to the plays, promotions, regarding authentic connections, there's a few points I wanted to help keep in mind. One is an authentic connection to me, it's a human story, right? You don't have to be perfect. Don't put up an Instagram filter face. I know I do that all the time. Don't put out an Instagram filter face. Just like today, I didn't put on makeup to look at you guys because I feel like I want to be my true self with you. It's a human story. Now, second point, you have to create a demand for your product before you harvest it. I think it's kind of like a duh statement, but it's actually so important. I think a lot of times when people think about sick, I need to go and make people pay me right now, buy my book right now. You are harvesting before you even realize whether there is a demand for it, right? So this authentic connection, it takes time to build. It's actually would take over time. You then can harvest it later, right? When it's time. Just like when you plant a seed, you're not going to expect your pumpkin that following day. You're probably gonna harvest it. No, I'm not a farmer, but like 9 months later. Okay, so this upside down triangle, it's something that we look at a lot, whether it's for my day job client B, or whether it's for my small book business, right? It's this upside down triangle, it's what we call funnel and marketing funnel. And it goes from the top, awareness, interest, info gathering, evaluation, inquiry, purchase, and referral. So everyone, whether you have a car or whether you're making a purchase of a book, you go through this decision process. Some take longer than the others. Maybe it takes you 9 months to decide on what car you're going to buy. Maybe it takes you only 15 seconds to decide what book you're going to buy, but you process. So what we're trying to do when you create authentic connections is keeping in mind what your connection is helping with what part of the funnel, the process. You have to know what your goal is. Otherwise, you're just making friends all around and then the dollar is not flowing in, right? I think I heard that. Your conversion is not, it's not happening. You're not getting them to purchase. You're not getting them to refer to others, to evangelize. And that's kind of, you need a guide process. So I have this bit here, but let me kind of walk you through it. So I use the same funnel and I evaluate all of the different aspects of a marketing tactic. And this is kind of what I learned. Now I left out some of the stuff that feels even more daunting, such as placing a TV commercial or a print ad, which I not helpful here. But that's kind of like what I do in my day job. So, but if you're interested to talk about those, we can talk about that another time. But here is a lot of the steps that I have gone through. I have tried all of these to see what works for me and building authentic connections. So press, which stands for publications or PR, leads, right? The that a lot of times you only get awareness out of it. Don't expect you're going to get a purchase or several thousand of purchases coming from just a press release. But it's important. Awareness is important because it makes you into a legitimate author. If people are Googling, who is April Cox? It's giving you that legitimacy. You can actually do the same in events, in social media, in your SEO, SEM, search engine optimization, which is your keywords. You can do it in blogs, podcasts, sales if you're selling in person or program. So I'm just trying to tell you, you are trying to move through this funnel, right? And if you feel like I need to do everything all at once, that would feel very daunting. So just pick a vertical that works for you and invest in that one at a time. If you try to do too many at once, guess what? You're actually just looking at a bunch of green check marks, and then you are not sure how the success of this particular sale is attributed by which channel. Did social media drive it? Was an event that drove it? You wouldn't know, right? So actually, the best way, and a lot of big brands are doing that, it's called test and learn, which is you only dedicate 1 month or 3 months to just one channel, do it well, give it your best, see where that goes, and then pause that, go to another channel, but knowing that sometimes maybe you are doing these things and they actually help the other channel, right? It's all building up. It's like kind of laddering up. It's not to say that if you all of a sudden disappear, people forgot about you. So maybe I was just doing social media for 3 months and then all of a sudden I did an event. Everybody ended up buying at my event. Well, is it that event is the only contributing factor? Maybe, maybe not. So ask, how did you find me? Why are you buying from me? I just genuinely wanted to know. And maybe they say, oh yeah, I've been following you on social media for a while. I just glad to see you in person. Well, there you go, right? So again, going back to one at a time, pick something that works for you and go from there. I wouldn't say just pick press, right? Because you can see here press, you're getting a bunch of awareness, but maybe you're not getting your purchases. I wouldn't say, oh, just do blogs and podcasts. You gotta talk to everybody all at once. Well, a lot of times you're not seeing your purchases through blog or make people share because they find your story, interesting. Maybe it would help them info gather, but you're probably not getting your purchases. Don't do your influencer program. Those are usually a time suck, right? You're not things you need here. So kind of pick what makes it comfortable. Some people like writing blogs. There's nothing wrong with that. Write blogs all day long. Well, then do your blogs, right? All right. You're speaking at a conference, right? Okay. So, all right. So social media, I'm picking social media because I think the easiest thing that you can do today after the call, right? I think people talk about social media a lot and you need to be in all these different platforms and everything. Well, you actually don't have to. Just pick one platform, just stick to just one, and I'll give you kind of a formula to go with it. The number one mistake when it comes down to social media is people talk about themselves too much. Guess what? You're losing followers that way. Well, that's actually music to our ears, right? If we are uncomfortable talking about ourselves, then maybe this is actually validating how you feel. You don't want to talk about yourself or sales all the time. You're doing it right. You just gotta be consistent. Second is you need to build a community around the problem you're solving. So what problem are you solving with your book? What niche are you trying to meet? Or perhaps, going back to the benefits, right? If I'm making multilingual books, maybe parents like me are having a trouble finding books in Chinese, right? Or Spanish to teach to my children I can talk about that particular topic. All right. And then also the third point is conversation at scale. So with social media, you're not talking one-to-one. You should be talking about topics that are relevant to more than one person, because more than one person will see your post, whether it's your family or friends or whether it's somebody else. But every post, it actually shares to other people's feed. So that's why having a topic that is more than one person is so important, because that kind of get them a reason to share, right? On the right hand side, this is actually what we teach our big brand clients all the time. And this is something I'm still working on myself through my social media. And that is your 80-20% rule. Your 80% of your post should be about values you're bringing. Motivate, inspire, it should be shareable, it should inform, right? And your percent of the post in the green box here, it's your best practices for your social media, which is using real examples, having real talk, right? Show your true self. You don't have to show what you don't want to show, right? If I'm uncomfortable showing my family life, I actually rarely post my children on my social media, and that's totally okay, right? It needs to be relatable, because your story is relatable, and that's why you wrote a book, right? So other people would read it. It need to be single intent. Sometimes I think we're trying to squeeze too much into that one post and people get lost. It's like, what are you trying to say? You're trying to tell me a whole life story and then you tell me to do what? So I think kind of boiling down to just one post, one intent, one topic, it's going to be helpful. Kind of spread it out, right? Maybe you post a couple times a week. Don't do quality over quantity. If you really can't do anything, just having one post a month is better than you trying to post something just I don't know, whatever, just trying to check off a box I want. Lastly, it's kill the ghost town. This is actually a something that my mentor have told me, that it's, if you really just can't even do anything, just at least having some presence is better than none. Even if you have no post at all, at least having that presence. Claim your handle so that other people are not claiming your name, right? Because I don't know, there might be thousands of April Cox out there, but if you claim that handle, at least you have that space later. And then lastly, what I wanted to say is you can try to utilize different platforms and see what works for you. For me, Facebook actually doesn't work nearly as well. And personally, I like pictures. I am a visual person. So I prefer to use Instagram, right? I have other people that uses X or Twitter because they are more of a words person and they're not so much about picture person. And that's I have people that like using Pinterest, right? So just choose one platform that works for you. Do it well there before you expand. And sometimes you'll feel like, oh yeah, maybe, this one image that I use for another platform and I can cross post it. That's great. That's pretty advanced in my opinion, right? But I think boiling it down to just simple terms, just try something. And if that doesn't work, move on, try something else, right? One at a time. So you can say, all right, at least I tried it. I know I'm going to try something else. So on that tangent, different platforms, I want to go back to book and author, which is kind of going back to me as a self-published author, seeing all the challenges that I've experienced selling to stores and to schools and getting all the no's. And so I wanted to create a platform with Yobi to make it where I just want to put myself out there reactively, and maybe schools and stores can find me. Now, they technically could find you on Amazon, but they are also trying to find you alongside baby bottles, right? It's not dedicated to as authors. Maybe you can, I can find you on Fair, but Fair also sells everything else, right? So your book is kind of just one of the many, many, many things that are out there. And so that's why we wanted to create a platform where it's just dedicated to the literary community, right? Where everybody that are on the platform are either an author and illustrator or, a bookstore, a librarian. So we just talk books on there, right? Or it can be something related to books. But I don't have to be worrying about I'm selling my books alongside shoes somehow. So bookandauthor.com, we just beta launched. Lots of changes is still happening on the site, but I want to grow and this group, kind of the first look on the platform. It is a place where you can build your author profile. It's your mini landing page. You can put your Amazon page, you can put where else your books are sold. Just a profile that connects everything, right? So you can have one place to direct people to and say, this is my author profile, more about me here. We also allow authors to sell directly on the platform. So if you list your books, create a book listing, people can buy directly from you. We also have an open call for authors function where schools maybe, I am feeling like there's too many choices. I just want to put out a call for author, looking for author near me that can read to a particular audience. You give me a custom proposal. Kind of function if a school is looking for someone near you. The fundraising just allows them to fundraise for platform credit so that they can book you or buy your books. We do have a team of people that are helping to onboard authors so that we can help you create your profile correctly on there, list all your books. If you are on Amazon, it's just a copy paste from a lot of things you already have on Amazon. If you have never been on Amazon before, it gives you short little prompts to like put what's your book about, how do we find you, what's your contact information, so all pretty easy. So yeah, I do encourage you to use that because that could be a way for you to sell your with a bit less pressure, just another place for you to be out. So people are asking how much. We are authors, first of all, so we want to keep it very cheap for us. So your profile is absolutely free. So to create your author profile, you do not need to pay anything. Sorry, you can list your links or your website and whatever on there. So at least you're searchable. If you want your books to be sold on the site, you need to create a book listing. And there are different packages, but they are about like $1 for every 3 months for one book to be listed. And you can basically do that and then it renews every 3 months. We do it every 3 months because I think that's just easier for you to at least give it a try for 3 months. If you don't like it, you don't have to renew it, right? Or you can renew another time. But I think $1 per listing for every 3 months is pretty affordable. And then also you can list your services. So if you're an author and you are open for virtual or in-person reading, you can create an author visit listing, right? And that's, I think, $3 for every 3 months, which is $1. So that schools can look for you and they can. If the school end up booking you, of course, we do take it. But that basically, it's not your money, it's just coming out from the school's money. And then you get deposited the amount. We do end up taking a commission because the platform requires to take credit card and credit card fees are there and all of that good stuff. So for all the people that we have spoken to, people all think it's like a fab. But a platform is nothing without authors in it. And so that's why we really encourage you to be on and try it out and let us know if there are things that we can help improve your and Deborah, it's not just for elementary school. It's actually we onboarded a lot of children's authors. Well, not a lot, 40 children's book authors because that's our immediate network. But we are actually looking for novelists. We are looking for, pretty much writers of all genres. And you will see it on the genre. If you happen to be, an adult book, you will be the only one in your state actually to be listed at the moment because of that. So yeah, we are looking for colleges.
Thank you so much, Serene. This has been really, really helpful, Serena. So, and let's connect again and come back again together once we start continuing to build this platform. And I'm happy to continue to share it with others as well.
Yes, and I really value all of your feedback. You guys are the first group of users, and so don't be shy with your feedback, and we'll hope to build something that will work for all of you.
Wonderful.